go. Okay. Hi. Welcome to Harmonies.
Hey,
This is a special Zoom edition of Harmonies. My name is Denise Hurley, and I'm here with Joziah Longo of the Slambovian Circus of Dreams.
yes.
Welcome,
Thank you.
Joziah.
Thanks, Denise. Thank you. Good to
So
be here.
happy to have you. So first of all, I think I'd like you to explain what your really wonderful name means and how it came about for folks that don't really know about your band.
Well, we used to be Gandalf Murphy in the Slambovian Circus of Dreams, right? Do you remember that?
Oh, I remember that because the first time I met you and when you played for us, that was your name, and we had so much fun with that name.
You know, we're kind of magical thinkers. Our kids make fun of us all the time because we're such magic thinkers. But I mean, I think the name for me initially when it was Gandalf Murphy, I'm kind of a religious type of person in some bizarre way, you know.
Uh-huh.
Gandalf Murphy was kind of like God, and the Slambovian Circus of Dreams was like the dream that unraveled into the universe that we were from this consciousness that had this dream, and we're all part of the Slambovian Circus of Dreams. So that was the kind of cartoon version of what it was initially, you know. So and so it's always been a bit, you know, like a giant whimsical thing for me to be in a band that's called the Slambovian Circus of Dreams, especially when we appear as two people sometimes, or five or six.
Yeah.
So it's been very it's been good to work in that kind of space. I think it's important to create a world if you want to keep your sanity when you're doing music, you know. So we have
Absolutely.
a world. You know, and you know, Slambovia spills out into the Highlands where we live. We live in the Hudson Highlands, you know, right up the road from Pete Seeger. When Pete was on the Earth plane, we're like right up the road from him. But we always joke with him about the fact that, you know, we live in Slambovia on the Hudson. And, so yeah, it's the place that we live in. It's kind of like a Brigadoon or something, you know.
Right. Nice. Yes. Oh, yeah. So it must be really pretty out that way where you are.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. It's really gorgeous. You know, even when the storm was happening, I just went out into the middle of the storm. We're up on a hill right over the river. And, you know, to the right is Storm King Mountain, which a lot of people call like the birthplace of the environmental movement, you know, because the river keepers and all were, you know, used to fish around that area. So those are our neighbors. And Storm King is where that, you know, they used to do all that bowling that causes the thunder, you know, the notes and elves and stuff. That's all up in this area here. So we hear that, you know, pretty regularly when they're playing nine pins in the hills. We can hear that right across the river from that, you know, where we are. So.
Oh, I think that was a story I knew when I was a kid or something, isn't it? That story too?
Yeah, I'm a little spaced. I'm a little, my brain's not functioning to access his name. What is his name again?
Rumpelstiltskin?
Yeah, no.
No?
Washington Irving. Rip Van
okay.
Rip Van Winkle, yeah. Washington Irving lived up that end of the river, you know, Tarrytown to Barrytown along the Hudson. We're like right in the center of it. That's where Slambovia is, right on the Hudson.
Oh, yeah, I used to love that story. Okay. So how did this all come together? How did it become together in the beginning? What happened? How did you become a band?
Well, I've been playing music since I was a baby, you know, really honestly. My dad played and my grandfather played, so I grew up playing music. It's the only trade my dad ever taught me. And I used to play a lot of, you know, early, like hillbilly kind of stuff when country was a little bit more hillbillyish. And, you know, early Hank Williams stuff and, you know, all things from that ilk, Hank Snow, all the different Hanks that they used to have back in those days. I learned that as a kid. And then the British invasion happened, and my father tuned into that and started recording stuff off the radio. So we learned all the Beatles and all the other British invaders. We learned all that music pretty quickly. So by the time I was 11, I was considering a band. And by the time I was 13, I had a band that was playing out called the Atomic Reaction. And we used to play all the Irish social clubs in Philly and, you know, any $2 nights and stuff like that. So I've been doing that ever since I was a kid. I left home at 16 and
Mhm.
started playing on the road. I moved to Center City, Philadelphia. I lived across the alleyway from Darrell Hall before we started Hall and Oates. So, you know, I was always around musicians, professional musicians. So, yeah, I was on the road from 16 to 18. Then I came to New York and did some theater. I got some theater company heard me playing in a Mexican restaurant in Fishkill or Poughkeepsie. Anyway, somewhere up around here. I lived
Mhm.
in Milton at the time. And they asked me to go on the road with them. So I did a tour. I was like about 17 or 18. I did a tour of Jacques Brel is alive and well and living in Paris. I never had any theater experience. And so I did that for a while. And then I wound up going to New York City and just built bands.
Okay.
Every time I needed to do something new, I built a band and created some crazy name for it. So I've been doing it for a long time. Then when I met Tink, I gave up music in '75 for a number of years. I was trying to just, you know, I was trying to find the meaning of life, you know.
Mhm.
So I gave up music and all worldly things, kind of shaved my head, did 7-day fast and stuff like that. And at the end of that time, I realized that the universe wanted me to play music. So I started another band. It was called The Rain. And shortly after that, I met Tink. She had been on tour in the UK, and when she first came back, a friend brought her to a rehearsal. So I met her when I was rehearsing, and we saw each other, and something clicked. And you know, we got together soon after that. And ever since we've been together, we've made bands. We had a bunch of different bands. And we were a band called the Ancestors that everybody wanted to sign. We were not. I was never interested in signing with a major label. It's a little too neurotic for us. But all the major labels came after that band. A couple of famous producers wanted to do albums with us, and they did. And then that brought more interest from the labels, and me being shying away from it even more. You know, people thought I was a little nuts for doing that, but you know, back in those days when it mattered. But we
Mhm.
shied away, and then we left New York City and just moved up river, and maybe about after a 2-year moratorium, we just went to school, Tink and I, to study how to do, you know, when you had to learn how to do digital video and
Sure.
graphics and all that stuff. We went to
Mhm.
school for 2 years, Tink and I. And afterwards, right after that, we created Gandalf Murphy and the Slambovian Circus of Dreams. And that's been the day job. We raised 5 kids with that as the day job. And now we're empty nesters and we're still doing it, except we're on vacation now because of COVID.
Indeed. Yeah. Now, most of your kids were in the band, are in the band?
Yeah, they've done stints in the band. Our twin sons, especially, you know, they both they were the bass player and the keyboard player for years. So they toured, and they waited to go to college. You know, they were Tink and I are late bloomers anyway. The kids are all late bloomers. We're all kind of like very, you know, young for our age, I guess. Immature is the word, I guess. But they started a little bit late, and so that was great. Chetty wound up going to School of Visual Arts in New York and did really, really well, and left with a really high-paying job. He's an animator. He's an illustrator and an animator. He immediately left school and found a job, which is really, you know, knock on wood for that.
Yeah.
And his brother Orion, the younger twin, he got a full scholarship to what the heck's it called? I'm not fully functional today. Some major art school in
Sure.
New York City that I'm blanking out on, but he got a scholarship to that, and then he studied gaming and animation as well. So they're based in Brooklyn and doing well. My oldest girl worked for Live Nation, and man, I'm like terrible. It's from working. I told you we had a little bit of a flood. I've been working on the pipes. I've been more in left brain than my right brain. But she worked for the two major venue owners in the New York City area. You know, one's Live Nation, and then they've got their competitor. And she wound up, they had a little bidding war, and she worked for both of them. And now, obviously, she's on vacation too, because both of those things are down, right? So, but everybody's happy. I mean, the other two kids are my other two daughters. I have three daughters. They're both players and writers, and they have bands and stuff like that. One lives in New Mexico, and one just moved back from Brooklyn to right across the street from where Pete lives, or used to live, you know, Pete Seeger. So she loves Beacon, so she's back. And so she's, you know, writing music, and everybody's doing good. You know, we're doing good. We're all poor, but we're like doing really good. All the gigs, you know, we're booked a year in advance, but everything got moved into 2021. So today we were interviewed by the BBC because Fairport Convention asked us to play their festival, and we would have left yesterday. The flight was yesterday, but they're doing a virtual festival. So we were getting the music together with the BBC this morning we're going to play, I think, next weekend or something, the Fairport Virtual Festival. So that's pretty cool.
And you just did that with Falcon Ridge.
We did. And that was pretty magical. You know, I thought it was going to be some lame thing, but it really turned out to be pretty powerful experience for everybody, including us. It was a great experience. We're all like kind of tuning into each other on the internet and a little quieter. We're like, how many times we've sat and talked after a festival, but it's usually we're both very busy. So we get to like spend time together. It's a great thing.
It's nice. It's nice. You
know, it is.
Just relaxed and just we're not in any hurry to do anything. So it is nice.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I think everybody needed to slow down. Tink said, Mother Nature sent everybody to their room and said, think about it. Come back and don't be brats anymore. You know, so we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Now your music, how would you describe it, and what kind of message are you sending out to people?
Well, you know, it's funny. Our music's very nonlinear. We really, really steal from just about everything. We've never been able to be, you know, there's not a certain genre. Some people say we're folk, but I don't even know how anybody could even think we're a folk band. I mean, like we're more like a Syd Barrett psychedelic rock band or something, you know. But you know, we love folk. There's folk elements, but I think we just steal from whoever we love. We just, you know, assimilate elements from everything, and we've always been that way. So, and luckily, people are starting to be able to wrap their heads around it. So we get hired for a lot of things now. You know, big, like even Fairport hiring us. We played Glastonbury, and we've done all kinds of big festivals, and you know.
I guess the other question I have is, what do you like about being a musician? What's about that you enjoy the most?
I think the most joyful thing for me as a musician is I'm constantly thinking of talking to people through the lyrics and stuff, you know. So you're constantly thinking of different people that you love, or people that you'd be concerned about, or, you know, the situation of the world. And so when your work becomes this thing of really focusing on how would I solve a problem if I only had words to do it? How could I have my words adjust people's posture so that we together we might do something that would make the world a better place? So I love that's my work, you know. And then so I write all the music in the band, and then you know, the joy of actually playing music and then having people immerse themselves in it. And I think for us, because we're 60s kids, you're like a 60s kid, right? I think, you know, for us, our religion became music, you know, our religion became concerts and festivals and stuff like that in the 60s. And it's carried on since that time. I mean, it never quite existed like that before the 60s, you know. And so uh, I'm really very, very grateful that I was able to, without ever signing ourselves away to any label, which I thought sometimes I was very crazy or belligerent for not doing, to be able to have it be the day job. And Tink's not like the sensible one who stays home and does, you know, gets a regular job. And Tink and I have both been on the road, uh, raising 5 children and touring the endless tour. And with our tribe members, my sister used to, you know, be with us and take care of the kids. She was a nanny, and then she had her own family. My kids took care of her kids. And, you know, it's a very tribal thing that's allowed us to do what we do. And we're always experimenting within the tribe how to make a world that's functional, because obviously, you know, right now we're trying to dismantle things in the world, right? And we're being forced to be at home a little bit. So it's a really good time. We're always kind of in that space. This feels very natural to us. In fact, a gift to be stuck at home, because we get to work more on the music. We often have to sacrifice the music to be on the road doing the music, if you catch my drift. You know?
I do. So you feel like you're able to maybe write some now, or
Yeah.
and think about where you want to go next in terms of your music, and you know, what's next type of thing.
Yeah, Denise. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we hit a point, you know, in our lives too, where it's like we before the year changed. You know, again, I want to say little things because I am slightly religious, but it's like pretty wacky. I talk to Heavenly Mother a lot of
Yeah.
times. I think about this like the feminine aspect of the universe,
Yeah.
because I really feel it's very much a time for the feminine, the more yin, the yin side of the equation to guide things, and that the more yang side of the equation, you know, that masculine energy or needs to step back a little bit and balance a little bit more between the yin and the yang, you know. You've got quite a yin and yang in your relationship, that's for sure. So, you know, you know, I think, you know, I think the yin part really, it can help the world unravel. It can help the world calm down a little bit, you know, and this time that's forcing us to slow down a little bit more, you know, is very helpful for all of us. So, you know, in answer to that question, yeah, Tink and I were like, I was told by Heavenly Mother, I might be insane, you know, I was told I talk to her all the time and I hear her. I was told by Heavenly Mother that 2019, I just needed to vanish for a while.
Okay.
And that because 2020 would be a big reset button for the world. So we took off the whole month of January. We're booked like solid all the time.
Right.
Took off the month of January, and Tink and I started just, you know, throwing out old stuff, consolidating things, you know, figuring out how can we, how can we put ourselves in a position to give more with more traction before we drop dead, as we're on our way to dropping dead 20 years from now, you know. And so we did that in January. We took some gigs the next month, and then we took off again to do some recording and video work. And right in the middle of that period we were taking off, COVID hit right in the middle.
Right.
So it just, this thing that she was talking to me about doing became extended for like a year or whatever it's going to be that we're like all stuck at home. So there's something going on. I mean, I feel from her that it's a time that, with all the difficulty and uncertainty about things, it's really a time like for the great unravel, where we get all slow down enough, get in touch with ourselves, even without having to meditate. You don't have to meditate because we're all moving so slow. You know,
Exactly.
you got to face yourself, you know.
You do.
So I think, you know, I'm very hopeful about this time, Denise. You know, I feel the world can come out better. I mean, we jump out again with our dukes up, ready to do all kinds of stuff, you know, bitch and moan about stuff. But even that, you know, that stuff needs to come out and work through, because there's a lot of things that we never slowed down enough to get completely right, like the Black part of our family issues. We're never quite, we didn't unravel down enough to solve systemic things and all that kind of stuff. And it goes across the board with a lot of areas where people have not been, we didn't pay attention enough to all parts of the family.
Mm-hmm.
Catch my drift, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I mean, it's a time where we're forced to meditate. And even if we get out, you know, we're in the streets and we're getting riled up. A lot of times we do that. And then sometimes when we get too riled up, we wind up becoming the thing we were fighting against.
Mm-hmm.
We become too yang, if you catch what I mean, you
I
know?
do. I do.
So, you know,
Yes.
I mean, we've got, there's some magic, and I don't think it's ever existed in history like this, where we've got time to slow down and consider that again. And then, you know, aggress with goodness again and consider again, you know? I mean, there's a lot of things we need to change in ourselves. And I'm really, really trying to analyze myself, you know, so I could be a better husband to Tink, you know, and better dad to my kids,
Mm-hmm.
you know, a better friend to all my friends. You know, I really want to be, I want to make sure that everything we do is helping to unravel the bad stuff and enhance the good stuff, you know. So yeah, it's a cool time somehow.
Yes. Okay. Um, so the music industry itself, you know, how do you think we're going to come out on the other side with, you know, venues and music and live music and you know, just, you know, the industry, entertainment industry? How do you see that coming out on the other side?
Well, you know, it's a big question mark, isn't it? I mean, it's really a big question mark. The interesting thing for me is I feel it's there's been a long habit of it being a very predatory system
Mm-hmm.
for a long, long time. You know, all the systems really. I feel like you know, everybody right now is trying to figure out who to blame for what's up. You know,
Right.
and there's a lot of
Right.
things, you know, white patriarchy and all that. But I don't buy the white patriarchy thing. What I mean by that is specifically is nobody's been a patriarch. Everybody at most has been a competitive brother and sister. There's no parental people that have been involved in anything. It's really just self-centered brothers and sisters trying to make things work. And it's very competitive. And there's always somebody trying to dominate and manipulate people. I think we got to watch out for the predatory nature, which we can all become. But
Mm-hmm.
I think it's always like, how do you unravel the predator? It's not like we got to get rid of the father figures. Well, George Washington was never a father. All those guys, when they were writing those, at least they had intentions of having equal rights for people. I mean, they wrote it down and they tried it. That's the good thing about America is they wrote it down and they tried it. They couldn't. They're good fiction writers. You know what I mean? They
Yep.
write a very idyllic fiction, but they haven't been able to manifest it yet. But you know, we've all been striving for that equality. We all dream of that equality. We all want it. And we're all in different phases of it. No one has suffered as much as the black part of our family and the red part of our family in this country, you know, so that really needs to be dealt with. But, you know, the victims have been different victims in other countries all the time. But it's because it's always the predator trying to dominate and control things. And it kind of teaches us all, in a way. I know when I'm coming up in high school, just for boys coming up in school, it's always been like, you know, hey, did you get laid yet? Like when you're a teenager, you know, there's all this kind of thing of like, you're supposed to be predatorial to be
Mm-hmm.
cool. It's like, it's a very messed up system. So I know the question was about the music industry, but I mean, it's really funny with a Harvey Weinstein and all those kind of things, and you know, women stepping up and talking about abuse and men stepping up and talking about abuse. I mean, I've been in the industry since I was 16. You know, I was around the industry, and I lived in Hollywood. I lived in New York City. I lived in Hollywood as a young person, and those predators like the Harvey Weinsteins, they were everywhere. You know, every man or woman that tried to get a job at you know, there was always like, hey, if you do this for me, I'll get you. And it was always a very like, not parental, not let me help you get a leg up, not let me help you. Yeah. And you know, so I think it's really a challenge to the industry. They're scrambling. They're always trying to think of how to make their money. every time things get free, they're trying to think, how do they clamp it down on it on the internet, you know? But I really do believe it's kind of like a judgment day. It's kind of like in Slambovian, we called it the great unravel. We, you know, prepare for the great unravel. And the great unravel is just the end of bullshit and the beginning of facing what really is best for everybody, you know? In Slambovian, we always say, there's no excuse for evil when there's an option of good. So you can mess up, you could do something stupid, but you can go, wait a minute, that was stupid. Let me not make it a habit. Let me fix it and do something good. So we're always striving for that. I don't, you know, yeah. So the industry, you know, the whole world's got to come apart. Our school systems, everything, we've been jumping through hoops that people don't fit in, you know, it's just, everything about it. And you come out at the other end and you don't have a job, or you get a really good job and you work somewhere for 20 years and they're not loyal to you. You know, it's like we forget that we're family, you know, in the old system. I think it's coming undone, you know, I think it's the great unravel.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to what's to come.
Yeah.
I really am.
Good, good. Yeah.
Lots
Denise.
of things are being you know, broken down and changed, and I think we will come out of this as a better place, because people are rethinking how they live their lives and what's important, and you know, so you know, unfortunately, you know, it's hard for a lot of people because
Yeah.
they've lost their jobs and you know that type of thing, or money. They don't have enough money, but I think it's going to be a better place. Because we are going to rethink how we live and how we treat people and how we care for people. So
Yeah.
I think
I
it's
mean,
a long time coming. I really do, this shift.
that's good to hear, Denise. I'm glad. Yeah. Cause you know, sometimes you know, I feel really hopeful about things, but you know, yeah, it's good to hear that you feel that way too. You never know, you know, I don't want to seem too positive in a, you know, it's a very tumultuous time, you know, but I mean, but it really is. I think all, you know, there's a goodness in all of us and everyone, you know, that really wants to find a way to make things work, but we're forced into such a aggressive predatory system that you struggle to survive and sometimes step on people, you know, to get up. And it's just, I hope we're learning that doesn't work. And it's not even, the things you gain from it aren't worth having, you know, it's just,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's switch gears a little bit. Now that you're home and you're trying to fix the floods in your home, uh,
Blackouts, floods, what's coming next?
uh, so what kind of projects are you working on right now? You know, that's keeping you out of trouble.
You know, you know, we're finishing up an album we've been working on for a while. I think the main reason for the delay in finishing it was we were kind of waiting for this time to figure out what is it we're saying.
Mm.
So, you know, I think I never quite finished that album. All the work's done. I did all my stuff on that last time. So I'm finishing up that album. I'm also learning how to be absolutely independent of working with anybody in the band for the sake of the band. I mean,
Okay.
so there's not that codependency that doesn't work, you know, like,
Mm-hmm.
so that I can give to everybody in the band. I'm working on finishing the band's album. I'm working on a solo album, and I'm working on an album that's called Love Songs for China that I've, you know, been writing for quite a while.
Okay.
You know, we were the first American band to play in mainland China
Uh-huh.
before Shanghai became this amazing place that it, when we were in Shanghai, there was one hotel in Shanghai, you know, so we got in there maybe a year and a half or 2 years after Tiananmen Square. So
Okay.
it was really amazing that we got into China. And I've always had, not, you know, I've had ghosts appear to me from China when I was like, during that time when I was like 18 or 19, when I lived in Malibu and I had a place in Princeton, New Jersey, that were two places that I lived. and I had a lot of spiritual experiences, and I had, well, I won't go into it too much because it's people think I'm nuts, but I had two like major Chinese figures appear to me back at that time and teach me a lot of crazy things. I mean, they taught me about. That's okay if your fans think I'm nuts.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, they taught me. I grew up Catholic, Christian, and Catholic. I was baptized, non-Christian and then baptized. My parents were trying to make sure that I was covered. And one of my godparents was Jewish and his wife was Catholic. The part of South Philly I'm from, people were pretty bold and that's why even I'm a mutt. No two grandparents were married to anybody from the same neighborhood or disposition. And it's a lot of intermarrying and stuff like that. But anyway, I get lost. What was I talking about, Denise? What was I saying? Do you remember? We lost that one after. Oh, China.
I know.
So,
Yes.
I was very amazed that we were considered the first American band to play in China, since the revolution, or something. And they said that, our names, we were called the Ancestors. They said the words, the Ancestors, that was the first English, the first English words put into the People's Daily, the newspaper. So there was like some kind of breakthrough. And when we played there, they only let maybe about 1,200 people come to see us at first. They weren't sure what to do with us. And they had a lot of Chinese pop singers around us, to cover if they needed to get us off stage. And we played 2 songs and the guy running it pulled us off stage and sent out Chinese pop singers, singing the tracks. And then he started yelling in my face in Chinese. I'm backstage. And I come, I grew up in a neighborhood where it's like, I only can take so much and I'll like pop somebody, you know what I mean? So especially if somebody's like in your face like that.
Yep.
So I'm backstage and all of a sudden that 1,200 people started chanting, ancestors, 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 until someone ran up to him who must've been his secret boss. Because it was a lot of people from the party there, and told him, started yelling at him, the guy yelling at me. And he said, we went back on stage and played. And we went back on stage and these the only 2 long-haired guys I saw in China the whole time I was there came up to the stage to headbang. And soldiers came and grabbed them and dragged them on their heels out of the place. Started dragging him away from the stage.
Sure.
And I was on stage performing and I went, yo, we're in this was when it was still like dangerously communist China, right? Yo, let him go, I said. And my translator, woman translator said, there's something whispery like this. And tension was in the room. I thought, oh my God, we could get shot or vanish into prison or some crazy thing like that. And that moment of tension ended by, they let them go. They listened to me and they let them go. And when those guys came up to the stage, everybody in the audience got up, and it was families. They got up and came to the stage and they were reaching out like this, and we were touching each other and we were crying from the stage and they were crying. And this really profound thing at our first concert in China happened. Like the family got back together again. The Predator was backstage trying to control everything, and the family was back together. And it was really profound. And then all the press that covered it wrote these spectacular reviews of the band. So then we only did about 4 concerts. The other concerts had more people in them, and it was just quite amazing what happened over there. But they booked this huge tour for us, and it was supposed to be finished with a 50,000 seat, like stadium for us to play in. And then China, people got self-righteous about human rights in China, which we should be, but you gotta play your cards right. You can talk about stuff or you can get in and do stuff. This is a long time ago,
Yeah.
And China didn't get the Olympics. And so they canceled our tour in retaliation to the United States doing that.
Yep.
And I thought, what a dumb move. Well, many things have changed since that time. That's it's like the wild East days.
Right.
So shortly after we played, the guy who brought us over was put in charge of Shanghai taking off, and Shanghai took off because it was such a successful tour that we did and such good relationships, and it went without a hitch, and the people loved us. They were sending their kids up to stage to put leis around our neck. Little kids would come up, their parents would let them
Mhm.
run up the aisle, and I picked up this girl. I said, oh my God, she looks just like my daughter, Mimi. And everybody was in tears. And the soldiers where there was tension in the beginning, they all came and took pictures with us. And it was like, it was really profound. What can happen, because that's who we really all are, right? I mean,
Right. Yeah.
and that happened. And just that the 2-week tour was just profound like that for us. And so, I've been watching what's been developing in China, and things look really great for a while, and then things start to go,
Hmm.
and all these things going on because, the problem is, just the predators.
Right.
The predators, all, the Chinese people are wonderful because the Chinese people are the white people and are the black people and are the people are the people. We're all from Africa. DNA has proven that we all come from a black mother, Ethiopian mother. So anybody that's being an asshole towards black people is just being that. That's all, meaning it became a thing.
Right.
But
Right.
it's always got to do with the predators separating the races and the genders and the this and that, and pointing towards each other, getting us all to fight each other, when who we are is, we really are family. We're an extension of whatever it is, this force is that causes evolution and develops bodies that are more capable of loving in a sensitive way. Like we have fingers that can touch a face in a gentle way. It's like we're not the kind of thing. We actually have evolved into beings with the potential to love. And I think somehow, I really believe there's a force in the universe that's just trying to learn how to be our parents to us,
Yes.
because our parents didn't have to be parents to us, but there's this force that wants to be our parents. And so I'm like you, man, I'm saying crazy stuff, Denise. So this is, oh, but so that, yeah, I feel it's a very hopeful time. I really hope we can unravel and not just jump back into the stupidity again, I
Right.
mean, even
Right.
politically, it just, I don't, left or right, I make people mad because I say, I'm more worried about the predators hiding in the very extreme right and the
Right.
very extreme left than
Hmm.
and even about Donald Trump. Donald Trump's a minor player in this game. He's not really, you know what I mean?
I
And
do.
I don't, you can't say good or bad things about him either way. You shouldn't even enter the conversation. But really, we're being manipulated by people with a lot more power than that dude's got. And
Hmm.
we've got to watch out that they don't, because all they'll do is they'll fan the flames of violence towards each other. So the best intended people with righteous intentions to make changes in the streets, which is, since the 60s, we've been in the streets fighting for
Exactly.
rights, when,
Hmm.
so, but they always fan the flames to get us so against each other and so blinded by the violence we're protesting against that we become so violent, and then they just take over. And it happened in Russia and it happened in China. I mean, the revolutions were not doing what they should have done. Even Mao, he bought into the worst of white Western thinking that says conflict based makes it work. That we were all about that in the 60s, but man, that's not what makes it work. And it's not about survival of the fittest. It's about survival of the people that bond together and figure out how do we survive together,
Exactly. Yep. I agree.
So
I
yeah,
agree.
anyway.
All right. So
Is this okay, the stuff we're talking about on your show?
absolutely.
Good, good, good.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So will you so do we get to see you online so we can still hear your wonderful music, and are you going to be doing some of that, more of that
Yeah, we
performance?
are. We didn't have a stable enough internet
Yeah.
until yesterday. Tink went and made sure we could do it.
Sure.
And we share, my sister lives in the same house with her family. So, you know, internet was a weak thing. So we only did recorded stuff and stuck to it. People kept wanting us to do, like Adam Ezra did. I think he did a show a day for a year, you know. That's
Yeah,
like,
he was
and we're
doing
like,
that.
yeah, that's
Yep.
good. Go for it. Adam makes me tired, you know. Like, yeah, go, brother. Go. You know, he's a more hyper kid than me, you know. I'm a hypo. I'm a little bit of a turtle, you know. I'm the
Yep.
tortoise. But we are, you know, we're doing more and more. And if people go to that Falcon Ridge site, if they look up the Falcon Ridge Festival, all that stuff stayed up. And we, you know, we did 3 stages there.
Yeah.
And it's footage that no one ever saw of the band that got for the main stage set 2013. And you get to see the audience. A camera crew wanted to film us there.
Yeah.
I said, you could film us. Like they brought like a 4 or 5 camera shoot at Falcon Ridge, and Ann was good enough to let us do it.
Sure.
But I said, but if the best cameraman is on stage shooting the audience, and they did it. So there's so much good footage of the audience reaction and singing along. Victor Moore did this. And a guy we used to work with in Manhattan. He's fantastic. And he recently just made a documentary of the band too, which is another thing that just came out a few months back. But Victor filmed this stuff. So if people look up that Falcon Ridge stuff, and also Tink talked me into singing 2 songs from musicals I wrote for a Broadway theater called Circle in the Square Theater in Manhattan. You know, Ted Mann used to run it. He went to the spirit world, but Ted Mann was a great advocate for Black actors who had never had a lead part in Broadway. Ted fought for James Earl Jones to get the lead in The Iceman Cometh or something like that. You know, he fought for it, and against great odds back in those days. You know, I mean, you know, so I got to work with Ted Mann. Ted Mann got wind of the music that I did from his son John, and Ted and I wrote 2 musicals together, and Ted invited all the New York City school system kids to come. So, the theater was open for about 2 weeks, and was packed every day with 1 or 2 shows per day. And we did Aesop's Fables,
Right.
Musical, and we did something called Fat Horse and Slim, which is like a surrealistic study of the state of America from the, you know, like, but it was an old aging cowboy and his horse, you know. So anyway, Tink got me to do a song from Fat Horse and Slim and a song from 2 songs from Aesop. So that's all up there too, in case people wanted to, you know, Google Falcon Ridge and go look at that stuff. But we will be doing more and more. And we've got one of our drummers now, the drummer that did the UK tour, is a professional videographer. Like that's what he does for a living. He's out in Montana right now, doing a shoot even now. And when he's back, he's so excited about being the drummer in this band that he just pushes us to do these videos where it's us singing, like, you know, you and me are that. What do you call it? Yeah. So when Matthew comes back, we'll be doing more. So yeah, a lot more. I mean, and I think, you know, Tink and I should get enough traction. We're learning to film each other and help each other. And Tink always wants to be, she likes to be the engineer. She wants to engineer stuff and she likes it even better than playing. She doesn't practice. She plays everything.
Yeah.
But I'm always the one working on the music, and she's always like into promote. She likes cooking things and getting them out to people. She's like that, you know what I mean? And so yeah, I mean, I think the Slambovian Circus of Dreams will be, we're just finding out how to hit our stride. We're really late bloomers, man. We're really, really late bloomers. We're just getting started. And tons of stuff is coming down. I'm writing so much music, it's crazy.
That's
yeah,
great.
I've got about 12 songs for that China album.
Okay.
You know, so.
Well, I can't wait to hear those. I can't wait to hear you live again.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that once things get back to normal, we can bring you back into our place. Because I'd love to do that with you again.
Yeah,
Definitely.
we always have such a great time.
Yeah.
How's Jeannie doing?
I'm
And
sorry.
how's Jean's boy doing?
He's home with us,
Is he?
and we're taking care of him. He's doing well.
Good, good, good.
You know, um, yeah, he's doing okay. I mean,
It was
he
pretty rugged. He went through some rugged stuff, right?
he did, he
Yeah.
did. But he's home. We're taking care of him, and that's where he needs to be, is with us.
Good.
So,
Yeah. Well, you guys are magic, so he's lucky to be
thank you.
with you guys. So,
Yeah, so we're doing well. His kids are here too that visit with him. His sons and his grandchildren are here all the time. So we always have a full house of children, and
uh,
there's a lot of love here, and a lot of goodness here. So
good, good,
we're doing well.
good. Yes.
And I'm trying to stay as creative as I can.
You look
Doing-
great, man. You look so chipper, and so,
Oh,
as
thank
soon as
you.
I saw you, I felt happy.
Yeah,
Happiness. So good for you.
yeah,
Your blessings on all of you guys.
yeah. Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you so much. So, okay. Well, if people want to find out more about you, what do they do?
They write the Slambovian Circus of Dreams into some search engine, and everything will pop up.
Everything will go.
Slambovian. It's just like it sounds, and you can find us. And
Yeah.
I hope you like our music. And when we all get out again, come see us live. Live is where
Oh,
it happens.
yeah. So you'll be back, hopefully 2021, back on tour, and creating the magic that you do. And I'll definitely get to see you back at Falcon Ridge next time. I can't
Yes,
wait.
yes, yes.
So,
Anyway, see you soon. Thanks for having me.
okay, you're quite welcome. Thank you.
All right,
Bye-bye
bye-bye.
now.